Hello, it's me. So, happy Tuesday. Looking at this P. Diddy video from yesterday via the Law and Crime Network. Shout out to Law and Crime Network for that coverage. Go over there and give them some love. P. Diddy defense makes bombshell move in sex trafficking trial. And there it is. Hey, KK, I need more baby oil. More baby oil? I mean, what's the oiling up an elephant? So let's have a look and see what they have to say.
All right, welcome back, everybody. So we have with us Elizabeth Milner, Law and Crime's in-court reporter, as we are on this break.
The handsome Jesse Weber.
This criminal trial. Elizabeth, this is the moment all of our viewers wait. They can't wait to talk to you. You get such love on social media, such love from the YouTubers. They want to hear so much about what's been going on. I'll give you an example how much love you get. We got a question from Gene Sluter. As a lawyer, Jesse, can Jesse please install Elizabeth Milner as the president of the United States? I do not have that power. I don't think you have to be an expert to know I don't have that power, but clearly you have the love.
There's lots of love for the people on this channel. We've got a great community.
Shady Goat. How is Diddy in court today? And were there any suspect looks that he might have given towards the jurors? Because he can't be trusted.
Isn't Diddy's resting face a suspect look?
Well, definitely as far as Diddy's demeanor goes today, he was doing kind of what he's
loads of the pictures that he was in, he was always like,
talking to his
just his resting face was like
there are a couple
threatening.
of moments, especially when the sexually explicit videos were played specifically to the jury. Obviously, we weren't able to see those. They were under seal. And so I was seeing him kind of peek over at their direction because they played those explicit videos for a long amount of time. I think longer than whenever the summary witness was talking about the Cassie summary exhibits. Was playing for that amount of time. But for these specific videos, I did see him kind of peeking over.
When you think of what judges in the American court system and the UK, and I suppose generally around the planet, actually, I was thinking of the most lurid, the lurid practices of the various countries around the world, and America and UK even. So, how much porn does he have to watch? How much porn over a judge's career? I mean, let's forget about the bad murdery stuff. That's but just like funny things, they must come across funny stuff, but you never really hear about it, unfortunately. Maybe I should do a video on that. Maybe I should sort of look up funny courtroom moments. Because so much like tragedy and heartache happens in courtrooms, it would be nice to get a different viewpoint, wouldn't it?
Here and there, especially because of the duration and how long they were playing. Plus, it was super quiet inside that courtroom when they were playing those videos. Literally, you could hear a pen drop. It was just that quiet. But again, these are only shown to the jury. But as far as what I could see of Diddy's demeanor today, still the same old. It doesn't seem that he feels maybe nervous or anxious. But again, we're never inside his mind, so we don't know 100% for sure what he's thinking at all times.
First to the ads, of course.
He's thinking at all times.
We got a old Hollywood angel says, can you tell Elizabeth we call her Queen Elizabeth? So again, you're getting a ton of praise from all of our fans. Elizabeth, I got a question for you. I'm reading the transcripts of these voice messages from Sean Combs, whether it's to Jane, whether it's to associates. How impactful are these voice messages? It seems to me, if the government is trying to say he played a central role in setting up these wild king nights and transporting people and paying for their services, to have him on these voice notes feels like a mic drop in a moment, no?
It was a little bit kind of, I think the government was doing what they could do with these voice messages. It wasn't necessarily like a mic drop moment, but it also could be depending on how you look at it. So when you're hearing Diddy on these audio messages asking for $5,000, $10,000, making sure that Jane has $15,000, it's a lot of money that's just being casually talked about during these audio messages. And even when you kind of hear his demeanor on these audio notes, because, you know, obviously we who have been covering this case, we know what Diddy sounds like. We know his voice. We hear him inside the courtroom sometimes when the jury is not present. However, for most jurors, I would expect that most of them don't really recognize his voice, and maybe I would expect that maybe they don't match it to the person sometimes, especially because as you're hearing it, he's asking for large sums of money. He's asking for medication. He's asking to make sure that he has as much baby oil as he can, because he was like, why am I out here searching for baby oil? Just make sure.
Money, medication, and baby oil. Everything that a growing criminal enterprise needs.
I have this baby oil here. I shouldn't be doing this. But he was saying it in kind of a joking manner, too, that you really can't tell if he was being kind of serious or if he was being playful and joking. You never just know what they're thinking. But as far as just what the government was doing by playing these particular voice messages, of course, you're hearing about the money being exchanged. You're hearing about, or I shouldn't say exchanged, but about the money being obtained or given to Diddy in some form or fashion. You hear about him asking Christina Quorum, for example, to make sure that the assistant set up the rooms before he gets there, or you're hearing and just different messages, just things that he would say to Christina Quorum about get me this, get me that, I need this, please and thank you.
It's just so well organized as well. I mean, we're talking about the money and, you know, where that's going, who it's going to, all that good stuff. But it's just he had a group of people to organize his sex. He had a group of people to organize his sex. Let that sink in for a moment. That's real power.
Here and there. So it could be a bombshell moment depending on how you look at it, but it's interesting just
I have trouble organizing my hair on my own.
kind of hearing these all play out. Now, there were a good portion of the audio messages that we didn't hear. I think there were some technical issues. Some of the audio messages weren't necessarily redacted, so we didn't hear everything in its full capacity. Right. But as far as what we did hear, I think it did kind of have a sticking point possibly for the jury.
You have to explain to us what's going on after the prosecution rests. So we get this question from Lisa5472. Elizabeth, has the defense given any clues on what they're doing after the prosecution rests? Because are they planning to call witnesses or no? Are they just planning to play some exhibits? What's going on? I think we learned a little bit more about this at the beginning of the day, right?
Yeah, it seemed like there was a lot of confusion on whether or not the defense just plans on admitting a bunch of stuff into evidence, or are they going to be calling a witness to kind of explain a lot of things? You know, initially the defense was like, okay, we're going to call Vashta Dunlap, we're going to call Dr. Bardet, we're going to call another witness to testify, but it seems like there's kind of confusion on whether or not all of these people are actually going to be called, because if everyone remembers just last week, the government said that, or excuse me, the defense said that their case in chief would be less than they were expecting. They plan, and this is still the plan, for summations or closing arguments to happen this Thursday. So it's possible that they may still call maybe one witness, maybe possibly two. But as far as maybe just a long witness that they may see for the defense's case in chief, it doesn't seem like that's necessarily happening. So we're still going under the impression that maybe a witness or two will be called. But as far as the defense's case overall, it seems like it'll be kind of wrapped up by either tomorrow or by Wednesday at the latest.
And which is why we're saying it seems unlikely at this point, highly unlikely, that Sean Combs is going to testify, because if he did take the stand, that whole schedule gets thrown out the window. Okay.
I still hold out some hope that he will throw a spanner in the works, as we say here in the UK, you know, throw a wrench in there. It seems like a golden opportunity for him to, you know, because he seems to revel in like that chaos. And that seems to be like a part of his natural life. There's an organized chaos to everything. He's at the center of it. He keeps people off their guard, you know, keeps them on their toes, constantly walking on eggshells around him. It seems to be who he, you know, what his character is and how he keeps people under the thumb. And obviously, with the threats of violence, allegedly, then all, you know, he just made them scared, and yeah, he was at the center of this, and everyone was there for Diddy. So it doesn't strike me as being a stretch that he would just kind of, blurt out, I want to go on the stand. I've got some things to say. And, I'm here for it, frankly.
Got a question from Sam. For beautiful Elizabeth, what is your personal thoughts on what the outcome of this trial will be? Guilty or not guilty?
Ooh, here we go.
Ooh, that is a great question. I'm a little mixed.
I am not. So 2 scenarios. If he's guilty, he's going down. He's going to jail. But it won't be for as long as we think it's going to be. It'll be like 10 years. And he'll get out in like 6 or something. It'll be something stupid like that. Or, does he walk? Does he walk? I can't see the circumstances under which he walks. I'm going to revise that. I think he goes down 10 years. I can't see him walking.
Right? Like, I think the government really does have a strong case for counts 3 and 5, that being transportation to engage in prostitution. Because as much as we talk about this trial, Jesse, I think there's a lot of people who still are under the assumption that Diddy's only charged with RICO and that he's only charged with sex trafficking. But that's not the case. He has those other charges too, that being transportation to engage in prostitution. And it seems like from the government that they have at least that kind of going in their favor. Now, as far as sex trafficking with Jane, I'm still kind of a little on the fence. It's not up to me, though. It's up to the jury to make those final decisions. With sex trafficking with Cassie, it also still I'm on the fence a little bit about that, too. And it's not my personal feelings. It's more so just the evidence that has been brought forth. And plus, I think a lot of people have to remember Cassie was at the beginning of this trial. We've had a whole bunch of other witnesses. So do people necessarily remember what all Cassie had to say at the beginning of the trial? I'm not necessarily sure. There's been so much other information that we have heard about since that maybe was able to kind of, poke the holes where it was able to poke the holes.
Yeah, but don't the defense and the prosecution get a chance to summarize at the end, bringing up all those salient points? In which case they have an opportunity to be reminded of what's being said, I should say.
But again, this is just me thinking, RICO, I'm still also on the fence about that. So we'll kind of wait and see what the jury has to come back with as far as what
Elizabeth Milner copping out.
It doesn't matter about what I think. It doesn't matter what any of us think. It's about what those jurors think whenever they go to deliberate on this case.
Why I think closing arguments are so pivotal in this case. The jury instructions so pivotal, trying to tie it all together, how all the elements fall into place, both for the prosecution and the defense. I think of the whole case. I think a lot of this case rests on closing arguments. I really do. Okay, we got a question from Mylan Boardman. Question for Elizabeth. How's the vibe outside of the courtroom as the trial wraps up? Aside from the fact that outside it's like...
Right, so I think what's going to happen is, as I've already mentioned, Diddy goes down for 10 years, gets out in 6 or 7. I think it's also quite interesting to kind of speculate on when he comes out of prison, who is he going to be? Because he has a golden opportunity to reinvent himself. We've seen plenty of people go to jail and it changes them in important ways. And he has a chance to come out of jail with a bunch of people around him who are still going to be hanging on. But if he invents himself as this kind of evangelical rapper, bad boy made good or done good, he's winning. He's just winning. The question is he really the kind of person who can change? Until next time, this is me signing off. Look after yourselves.